He thought his double life was flawless, hidden behind sweet lies and late-night excuses. But secrets have a way of crawling into the light, especially when betrayal cuts too deep. This is the story of how I turned his affair into his biggest downfall. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more powerful stories. From the outside, our marriage looked like something straight out of a picture frame. Family dinners, social media smiles, matching outfits on anniversaries, it all painted the illusion of harmony. Friends envied us, neighbors admired us, and my parents proudly said, "You found a good man." But inside the walls of our home, cracks began to appear. Little things at first late-night meetings that never used to exist. Hushed phone calls, and a sudden obsession with his appearance. I remember one night clearly. He walked in around midnight, the smell of expensive cologne clinging to his shirt. My instincts screamed something was wrong. Long meeting? I asked casually, trying not to sound suspicious. Yeah, the client's from out of town. Needed to close the deal, he replied, avoiding eye contact. His voice was steady, but his eyes darted just enough to betray him. For weeks, I tried to dismiss my growing unease. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it was stress. But deep down I knew. Women always know. It wasn't until one Saturday morning, when he rushed to the shower, leaving his phone on the counter, that my doubts turned into certainty. A single notification lit up the screen. Last night was unforgettable. Can't wait to see you again. My stomach dropped. My hands trembled. There it was, the truth staring at me in bold letters, but instead of confronting him right away, I made a decision. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't let him see me break. No, if he wanted to play games, I would play smarter. That was the moment his secret affair became my secret weapon. Once the truth settled, my heart no longer ached with confusion, it burned with purpose. If I accused him without proof, he would twist the story, gaslight me, and make me the villain. No, I needed undeniable evidence. So I became an actress in my own life. Sweet, supportive wife on the outside. Quiet investigator on the inside. I started small, watching patterns. He always claimed late meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On those nights, his shirts carried faint traces of perfume, not mine. Then I noticed the lies layered with more lies. He said he was with colleagues, yet his expense receipts didn't match his stories. A charge from a fancy restaurant on a night he swore he had fast food with the guys. I began taking photos, keeping screenshots, collecting every breadcrumb. Slowly, the puzzle came together, but the breakthrough came when I befriended his secretary under the guise of casual conversation. Over coffee one afternoon, she let it slip. He's been taking extra business trips lately, though strangely, there's no record of them in the company's files. My blood boiled. He wasn't just careless, he was arrogant. One night, when he fell asleep with his phone in his hand, I carefully unlocked it with the fingerprint he often used. And there it was, an entire gallery of photos, messages dripping with passion. Voice notes where he whispered words he hadn't said to me in years. Every single lie he told had now turned into my arsenal, but instead of confronting him in private, I decided something far more devastating. If he thought his affair was a secret, then I would expose him in the one place he never expected, in front of everyone who thought he was a perfect husband. And that's when I began to plan the moment his world would come crashing down. By the time my investigation reached its peak, I knew almost everything. Her name, her face, her favorite cafe, even the hotel where they often met for business. Her name was Clara, younger than me, ambitious but reckless. I had scrolled through her social media late at night, memorizing every detail of her life. She posted cryptic captions like "living my best life," with photos in dimly lit restaurants, the same nights he claimed to be working late. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. He paraded her in places I could trace with a few clicks. The arrogance made me sick. One evening, I followed him. I stayed far enough behind to avoid suspicion, my heart pounding as I watched him turn into a hotel parking lot. He checked in under his name, our name, as though there was no risk in leaving evidence behind. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, imagining him laughing with her, touching her, forgetting every vow he had once made to me. Rage coursed through me, but I stayed calm. This wasn't the moment to explode. This was the moment to document. I snapped photos. The way he held her hand as they entered the elevator. The way she leaned into him with a smile that dripped with smugness. Every detail burned into my memory and into the camera roll on my phone. Driving home that night, I didn't cry. My tears had dried up weeks ago. Instead, I whispered to myself, "You wanted to play with fire. Now you'll learn how much it burns." The mask he wore as the perfect husband had cracked beyond repair. And soon the whole world would see what lay beneath. Exposing someone is an art. If done too soon, the shock fades quickly. If done too late, the damage loses impact. Timing was everything. I chose our wedding anniversary, a day he would never expect me to destroy, because it was supposed to symbolize love, loyalty, and commitment. The irony was too perfect. For weeks I prepared. I compiled every screenshot, every message, every photo into a neat little presentation. The kind of file no one could dispute. Facts, evidence, truth, it was all there, but I didn't stop at gathering proof. I planned the setting, an anniversary dinner with close friends and family, something he himself had suggested weeks before. "We should celebrate big this year," he had said, smug in his secret life. Oh, we would celebrate big. All right. The night before the dinner, I stared at myself in the mirror. For the first time in months, I felt strong, powerful, no longer the fragile wife, but a woman in control of her own narrative. I pictured the scene in my head, glasses clinking, laughter filling the air, his arm around my shoulder as he performed the role of loving husband. And then my move, the unveiling of his lies in front of everyone who believed his act. The thought both terrified and thrilled me. My pulse quickened, but there was no turning back now. As I tucked the neatly organized file into my bag, I whispered to myself, tomorrow, his world ends. The restaurant was glowing with soft lights, the clinking of glasses and the hum of cheerful voices. Our table was set for 10, filled with family, a few close friends, and his colleagues. Everyone was smiling, unaware of the storm about to hit. He played his part flawlessly. His hand brushed mine, he cracked jokes, and every laugh seemed louder, more exaggerated, as if he were convincing himself of his own lie. I sat there quietly, sipping wine, studying him. Every gesture, every smirk, it all seemed so hollow. "You look beautiful tonight," he whispered in my ear. A performance meant for the audience watching us. I forced a smile, my heart steady. My plan was seconds away from execution. The waiter poured champagne and the toasts began. One by one, friends stood and spoke about our love, our journey, and the example we set. Every word twisted deeper into my chest, but also fueled my resolve. Finally, it was my turn. He squeezed my hand and grinned. "Say something nice, darling," he murmured, certain I would continue the act. I stood, raising my glass. "Tonight, we celebrate love, trust, and loyalty," I began, my voice steady but sharp. "But sometimes what looks perfect on the outside hides something rotten within." The room went silent. Eyes shifted, confusion settling in. He chuckled nervously, trying to dismiss it as a joke. But then I pulled the folder from my bag. I thought this was the right night to share a different kind of toast. A truth that deserves to be heard. One by one, I laid the photos on the table. Him holding Clara's hand. The hotel receipts. The late-night messages. Gasps filled the air. His smile froze. His color drained. I looked straight at him. Happy anniversary. The silence lasted only seconds, but felt eternal. Then chaos erupted. Is this some kind of joke? His sister asked, her voice trembling. His best friend cursed under his breath, muttering, unbelievable. My mother just shook her head, disappointment in her eyes. He stammered, reaching for the papers. This isn't what it looks like. But the evidence was undeniable. Clara's name, her face, her presence woven into every piece of proof. He tried to speak, but his words collapsed under the weight of truth. The room turned against him. Friends whispered, family glared, colleagues excused themselves in disgust. His carefully constructed mask had shattered in front of everyone who mattered, and I sat calmly, sipping my champagne, my lips curved into the faintest smile. He leaned toward me, his voice low and desperate. Why would you do this here? I met his eyes, unwavering. Because lies deserve the brightest spotlight. And tonight, everyone saw you for who you really are. He collapsed back into his chair, defeated, while the life he built crumbled around him. The dinner was over, not with a toast, but with a revelation. The house was eerily silent that night. No clinking glasses, no chatter, just the echo of his footsteps pacing across the living room floor. He threw his jacket onto the couch, his face red with humiliation. Do you have any idea what you've done? He snapped, his voice trembling with rage. I stood in the doorway, calm, almost detached. Yes, I showed them the truth. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing faster. You've destroyed me. My colleagues, my reputation. I can't show my face at work now. I tilted my head, watching him unravel. Destroyed you? No, you did that yourself. I just refused to clean up your mess anymore. For a moment, his bravado cracked. His voice lowered, almost pleading. We can fix this. Tell them you overreacted. Say it was a misunderstanding. I laughed softly, a bitter edge in my tone. A misunderstanding? With hotel receipts and love letters? No, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's your reality. He slammed his fist on the table, rattling the glasses. You think you've won? I stepped closer, my eyes locked on his. This isn't about winning. It's about the truth finally breathing free. And then I walked past him, leaving him in his storm of anger and denial, while I carried the calm of knowing his empire was already collapsing. The next morning, the office was a battlefield, only he didn't hold the sword anymore. Whispers spread faster than wildfire. Screens lit up with messages, colleagues avoided eye contact, and some openly sneered. His title meant nothing now. His respect was gone dot at the weekly board meeting. He tried to carry himself with confidence. He smoothed his tie, forced a smile, and began his presentation. But before he could finish, one of the directors interrupted. Tell me, if we can't trust you at home, why should we trust you here? The words cut through the room. Silence followed. He stammered, searching for a response, but the weight of exposed betrayal silenced him. One by one, the board members turned cold, their eyes sharp with judgment, and then, like a final blow, his superior leaned forward. We don't tolerate deceit in this company. Consider this your last meeting here. The papers in his hand slipped to the floor, scattering like the remnants of his double life. He left the office not as a respected leader, but as a fallen man stripped of his power, and I watched from a distance, not with glee, but with a quiet satisfaction. For once, karma didn't need time. It struck right where it hurt most dot if the office was a battlefield. Then society was the executioner. News of his affair had spread beyond corporate walls. Friends stopped calling, neighbors looked away, and even family gatherings became suffocating with whispers and sideways glances. He wasn't just a man who cheated, he was the man who had been exposed. One evening, while I was out grocery shopping, I bumped into an old mutual friend, Lila. Her eyes held a mixture of sympathy and admiration. You're stronger than most, she said, softly placing a hand on my shoulder. Not many would have had the courage to show the truth. People hide behind silence, but you set yourself free. Her words clung to me like a reminder of why I had done it. It wasn't revenge for revenge's sake, it was reclaiming my dignity. At home. He sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. The man who once thrived on attention now shrank in the shadows of shame. His phone lay untouched on the table. No more messages, no more calls. He looked up at me, his voice hollow. I lost everything. I nodded, my tone steady. No, you threw it away. I just refused to carry the burden anymore. For the first time, there was no anger in his eyes. Just defeat. And in that defeat, I saw something I hadn't seen in years in admission. Silent but undeniable that I was stronger without him. That night, I slept soundly. No nightmares, no restless tossing. Only peace, the kind that comes when the truth no longer hides in the dark. Months passed, and life began to bloom again. I moved into a new apartment, small but mine. Sunlight poured in every morning, warming the walls and reminding me that fresh starts were real. I decorated the space with things that reflected me, not us. Bright cushions, art I loved, plants I nurtured, work flourished too. My confidence, once buried under years of doubt, resurfaced. I spoke with strength in meetings, my ideas respected and valued. I wasn't his wife anymore, I was me, fully unapologetic ally. Every now and then, I'd hear about him. People said he struggled to find another job at the same level. They said women he once charmed now avoided him. His name, once spoken with admiration, had become a cautionary tale. One afternoon, I saw him by chance, sitting alone at a cafe. He looked smaller, thinner, as if life itself had drained him. Our eyes met briefly. He gave a weak, almost pleading smile. I didn't wave back. I didn't need to, because the story wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. About surviving betrayal and walking through fire, only to come out stronger. As I walked away. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the street in golden light. I breathed deeply, feeling freedom in every step, and for the first time in years, I whispered to myself, not as a reminder, but as a truth. He thought his affair was his secret, but exposing him wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning.